Shankar Mishra's family has made even stronger charges while coming out in his defense, even saying that he did exactly what the lady complainant asked of him, and all the subsequent complaints and FIRs could well be an attempt to blackmail.
सर, ये टोटल झूठा केस है। मेरा बेटा अमेरिका गया हुआ था, वो रेलवे से उसको न्यूयॉर्क में फ्लाइट पकड़ना था। वो करीब 30-35 घंटे सोया नहीं था। ऑलमोस्ट समझ लो कि 1 दिन 2 दिन सोया नहीं था। वो न्यूयॉर्क से फ्लाइट पकड़ा। वो रात को खाना खा के, इवन फ्लाइट वाले पीने को देते हैं, ड्रिंक देते हैं, तो पिया होगा और वहाँ से रास्ते में सो गया। मुझे नहीं लगता कि ऐसा करेगा। वो लेडी 72 ईयर की है, माँ की जैसी है। ये 34 साल का बच्चा है, ऐसे कैसे कर सकता है? वो शादीशुदा है, उसकी एक बेटी है 18 साल की। फिर देखिए, कुछ पेमेंट उससे डिमांड किया था और दिया गया था। उसके बाद में क्या हुआ मुझे पता नहीं है। कुछ तो हुआ रहेगा डिमांड, जो कि शायद उसका पूरा नहीं हुआ, इसलिए वो नाराज हो गई और ऐसा काम किया। शायद क्वाइट पॉसिबल ब्लैकमेलिंग होगा, या इमेज खराब करने की बात हुई, या कुछ उसका ईगो हर्ट हुआ रहेगा। मस्ट बी समथिंग। भाई, हम भी ट्राई कर रहे हैं बात करने के लिए, मुझे बिल्कुल पता नहीं है। हम बताना ये चाहते हैं कि आप फैक्चुअल बताइए। जिस तरह से मैं सुन रहा हूँ मीडिया में, ये इमेज खराब करने वाली बात है। इस तरह से नहीं होना चाहिए। कुछ सच्चाई से हटके प्रेजेंट किया जा रहा है।
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
So is there more to this than meets the eye? Who does one believe in this entire battle that has become more and more murky with each passing day? In fact, joining us on the debate, we have an esteemed panel with us. Let me go straight across to C. Rajashekharan, lawyer, Ashish Dikshit, also a lawyer, Amir Singh Pasreech, aviation lawyer, and Neetu Shukla, former employee of Kingfisher. Neetu Shukla, what do you make of the father now coming out and saying that this could be an attempt to blackmail?
I really wouldn't give much importance to what the father is saying. He's obviously going to take up for his son and try to save their family image. Honestly, I feel sorry for the wife and the child because they are unnecessarily going to face the brunt of his actions. But to say that a lady who can afford a business class travel would blackmail him is ridiculous. I think the only reason she must have agreed to even allow her clothes to be laundered is because of the shock that she must have been in with the crew approaching her for that. And just wanting to end the whole discussion. I really feel sorry for her. Is the father trying to say that if somebody urinates on someone and then pays money to launder it, it's all fine? Is that how we are supposed to behave? So anybody can urinate on anybody, throw money at them and walk away? No, it doesn't work like that. So I really wouldn't pay much attention to the father or even to the defense lawyer, because obviously she has to defend the indefensible.
Ashish Dikshit, is this an attempt at a cover-up? Is this a clarification or a cover-up?
See, I don't know, I am also in as much, I also don't know what exactly is the situation. That is not against the other person's words. So it has to be done through a manner through which the procedure has been laid down in the law. The law is very clear. 2017 latest guidelines are there. Inquiry has to be conducted by a committee headed by a retired district judge, and during the pendency of the inquiry, a person's he can be restrained for 30 days to fly, and I think that has been done. And to say that some allegations are true, some allegations are not true, it's like we don't know. The lady before me doesn't know, I also don't know. The right way out is that the inquiry report should come out as soon as possible, and the pilot in command should report.
But sir, let's face it that all of this is happening only because it got exposed in the media. Had the process been followed, all of this would not be required. Remember, this happened on the 26th of November. Now we are already in January. The FIR was lodged only in January. This should have been done. 26th this happens. 27th the lady files a complaint with Air India. Why wasn't the FIR lodged in November itself? Who was waiting for 2 months?
See,
and one more thing to note, Padmaja.
See, what I have learned from the media reports.
No, wait a second. Let Neetu speak. Let Neetu speak, then I'll come back to you. Yes. Neetu's adding a point. Yes, Neetu Shukla.
I'm so sorry.
So, Padmaja, the amazing thing is Wells Fargo just finds out about the incident and they immediately take action against the employee, against their employee. But Air India had the Vault report, it had the whole mail being written to the chairman, and nothing is done. Does that speak about the state of Indian aviation, and does that speak about how we should actually be behaving and what is right and what is wrong? Now the entire case can be muddled and made out to be something else, and the poor lady has to go through this entire thing plus the whole trauma.
And today we're talking about the process of the law, and that is the very point, that for 2 months the process of law wasn't followed, and now all of us are acting in retrospect.
See, Padmaja, we need to understand this thing, that there are reports, there are chats which indicate that perhaps the matter was settled. So if someone settles a dispute, interstate dispute between the parties, no one as a third party can interfere and say, okay, you have to register a case, you have to take action. Now the lady has come out and said no, that compromise was not genuine, or she was wrongly paid, or whatever her case is. I'm not taking any one side, it's very clear. The airline is only under an obligation to report it and constitute a committee to conduct an inquiry. Airline is also not a judge.
So here
airline
is what the lady says. The lady says over here, just a second, sir. The lady says, I also personally emailed a complaint. Just a second, Ashish Dikshit. I also personally emailed a complaint directly to Air India on the 27th of November 2022, fully expecting them to call me for further investigation of the situation in order to take proper action and initiate proper grievance settlement. So if there was a settlement and an agreement reached between the complainant and Mr. Mishra, why would she send an email on a complaint on email on the 27th of November 2022 itself? A settlement and a complaint don't square up, Ashish Dikshit.
Perhaps because most of the time they do. If there is a settlement and there is a subsequent complaint also, we see most of the times there are cases of this nature where people will enter into a settlement also and subsequently make a complaint also. So all this needs to be gone into by an inquiry.
But sir, that is the
you
point.
And me cannot
today we are saying that there was an agreement between the two of them because of a statement that the lawyers have made. But we are overlooking the fact that 27th there was a formal complaint sent to Air India. There was a complaint the very next day. 26th this happens, 27th there is a complaint.
I am not saying that lawyers are correct or the lady is correct. You and me cannot decide that. No one on the panel can decide that. It has to be decided by a committee, or in the FIR it has to be inquired into. What lady is saying, maybe it is correct. What the gentleman is saying is correct. Okay. I don't know. You don't know.
Okay, let me bring in our viewers also, because increasingly this case is getting extremely muddled. V Singh, what do you believe? What do you believe among the two versions, Mr. Singh?
Yeah, hello, Padmaja. This is Group Captain V Singh.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening to you. See, my point is that in this case, actually, the Air India is, first of all, they are at fault, and the captain should have taken immediate action. I, being from Aviation, I can tell you that immediately he should have alerted the police and the ATC, Air Traffic Tower, Control Tower, and this man should have been arrested then and there, handed over. This is as per the rules and regulations. There is some discipline, there is some code of conduct, and there is some rules and regulations of the Air India and the civil aviation. So now the DGCA should take the case in their hands, and they should take action against Air India as well as this man. The strict action should be taken, and this lady should be compensated till she is satisfied, because she is a senior citizen.
Yeah.
And this is the worst can happen to a lady traveling.
Good evening, but I would say that unfortunately, I'm so ashamed to see what has happened. I would like to put few facts here. One is when I heard the father's interview in other channel, I'm not surprised how his son has turned out to be. After such a incident, the father is, trying to protect his son and saying that it wouldn't have happened or he wouldn't have done it. Point number one. Point number two, imagine if this would have happened to one of the airline staff. You know, if this would have happened to the air hostess, if you would have touched the air hostess, what the airlines would have done? They would have kept quiet? No way. Third, I heard Mr. Bhargava, ex-MD of Indian Airlines, and he was saying that they were trying to patch it up and things like that. So I'm not surprised how Air India is today. I think I appreciate the media in this country, but for it, this would have been hushed up. Okay. I would request you, Padmaja, and all the media channels, please get our N. Chandrasekhar or Mr. Ratan Tata and ask them that is it acceptable to a group like Tata? I think it is the airline's pilot, airline's crew, which should be equally put behind bar. First thing.
Okay.
This gentleman, of course, he should be, and the lawyers will say all the technicalities in the world. They will have no empathy for this poor 70-year-old lady,
It's quite amazing to me, sir. I can understand why you would feel so angry at this point. What's also amazing to me, and let me ask this to Amar Singh Pasrich, what do you make of the fact that today we had a statement coming from Air India, and the CEO actually said, while the story is more complicated than has been reported, there are clearly some lessons we can and must learn. Seemed a little brusque, Mr. Pasrich.
Yes, it is brusque, and that is quite typical of company management. But you have to appreciate that they are confronted with a situation which is quite unprecedented. I think they were wrong. I think Air India was wrong in not taking more strict action earlier. And they're facing a crisis of a kind that is not only in public relation terms, but it's also an incident that not common, and that happens almost every day in the airlines. You don't see much of what happens at the airports. You don't see much of what happens inside the aircraft. We have aggressive people all the time. They're over-aggressive VIPs, they're over-aggressive business class passengers, first class passengers. They feel they paid for a flight and they misbehave. So you don't see a lot of that. And the crew's job is, I'm sorry to say, it's their job to hide a lot of this mess and to deal with the situation on the ground, in the air and then on the ground. This particular case clearly involves the requirement of a reporting. He's an unruly passenger. Yeah.
Which wasn't done, and that is why tomorrow, starting with the pilot, the crew is also going to be questioned, Mr. Rajashekharan.
Yeah, it wasn't done. That was a fault.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that is something that they must answer for, Mr. Rajashekharan, but also on the part of the lawyers to ask questions like, was there a settlement? Why are you doing this post facto? There seems to be a rethink on the issue of compensation. In fact, they've gone on to say that her complaint wasn't even about the urination, it was about the money. Is this an attempt to tarnish and silence the lady, Mr. Rajashekharan?
Padmaja, let's understand this case purely on merits of the whole episode. Two passengers traveling in an aircraft and they had some issues. Nobody knows except those two passengers and the crew members. The investigation has started. I don't want to jump the gun and say somebody
that lady has said she didn't know him from Adam.
Crime. No, I'll tell you. Yeah. No, I'll tell you. Please, Padmaja, allow me. See, there are allegations and counter allegations against both of them. One is saying this passenger had urinated on her. Everything has to be investigated on merits without any bias.
But that is not even under doubt.
Or power.
The fact that there was urination has been confirmed by everyone.
No,
nobody is actually doubting it.
No, please. Yes, okay. I'll say everybody is innocent until proven guilty after the investigation.
Except that one lady left that airport,
including the pilot,
in damp stinking clothes.
Co-passengers. No, please allow me. No. See, I am not making any bizarre statement against anybody, including I empathize with the lady. She is a senior citizen, and you should understand she is a passenger. Above everything, she has the strength.
That is fine, sir. You're stating the obvious. My question to you is, post facto, to come out and say things like there is no witness, this is all hearsay, this seems to be blackmail, you've got, an agreement that happened, now your issue is only about money.
See, all this. See, I'll tell you. Again, I'm reiterating, I don't want to jump the gun, I don't want to come to any conclusion because the matter has been investigated by the police department. I give due respect to the whichever police is going to investigate, and I give the benefit of doubt to all the people involved.
I am pretty certain you won't be so forgiving and giving benefits of any doubt to anyone. God forbid you were to be ever faced with something like this, sir. We get far more incensed with even a dirty blanket. If you had, please, sir, come on. Be a little fair. It's always easy to give benefit of doubt when the shoe is on someone else's foot. You would be far less forgiving if you even were given your meal wasn't hot. Now somebody is being urinated upon and you are like, let's give him benefit of doubt. Anyway, Mr. Pastrich, I saw you shaking your head. I want to bring in more viewers. I saw you shaking your head. You want to respond to this?
The benefit of doubt.
Mr. Pastrich, yes.
Go on. Sound gear.
All right, let me bring in another viewer. Mr. Gopinath is with me on the phone line from Chennai. Yes, go on, sir. What do you think is happening here?
Yeah, good evening, Padmaja. Good evening. First thing I want to make it very clear. How come the Aviation Ministry under our Prime Minister is keeping quiet? Secondly, I'm telling you, why Aviation Ministry under our Prime Minister is keeping quiet? Why they have not taken any action against the President Airline, Air India, and their crew members?
So they have issued a show cause notice. They've given them a fortnight's time. The Aviation Ministry has issued a show cause notice to the airline. But you're absolutely right. They could have responded sooner.
He comes from a high background. He's got a high job. He's lost that right now. But I think since it happened in business class and it was a senior citizen, it was an old lady, nobody's really caring. If it was a high-profile woman, it was a big man, he would have done this on, things would have been very different. I think it's a class personality thing that we anyways in our country suffer from. Kunal Kamraj said one line to a journalist from your ilk. He had a 6-month flight ban. This guy's got 30 days for peeing on someone. Sorry for my language, but that's what it is.
That's true. I mean, I would imagine had it happened to some VIP, this man would be on his face in the aisle and handcuffed and taken away. Mr. Colonel D'Souza is also with us. Go on, sir.
Thank you, Padmaja.
Good evening, sir.
This curtain which you draw when you serve people in the business class should be done away with. I assure you, I'm an army officer and I sit in the economy class, and let me tell you, everything is preview, but the curtains which gained should be stopped. And these things will be stopped thereafter. Thank you so much, Padmaja. I blame no one. I am not anyone to accuse. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Good night. Mr. Harry also is with us on the phone line. I want to take his reaction and I'll bring in Neetu again. Yes, go on, sir.
Okay, good evening, Padmaja madam. I'm speaking from Trivandrum.
Good evening.
Okay. And now, the problem here is there are certain rules of aviation rules also has not been followed. And the crew also should be, brought to this thing. And they also should be charged. And all the crew members also should be charged under the various aviation sections. And unfortunately, the politicians, I don't know why they are refusing to take the things at face value. Okay. That is a problem.
So now I think everyone has sort of hunkered down because it's a matter which is being investigated by the police, and as it progresses, perhaps we'll have people take sides as well or make a comment about that. But bringing you back in, Neetu Shukla, that statement that was made by the lawyers is referring to these WhatsApp chats. Now, there's one WhatsApp chat where the lady responds to Mishra and she says, "This is my WhatsApp number, received 5,000. My daughter and son-in-law were very upset hearing about the incident. I prevented them from lodging a complaint saying you were very apologetic and quite unaware of the ugly incident, and I wanted to give you the chance to mend your ways. I guess you will also keep your word." What do you think this signifies? Because the lawyers are taking this to mean that she had no problem with Mishra. Now she is having an afterthought.
It's a simple case of whether or not you have an afterthought. That doesn't take away the act of Mr. Mishra. Mr. Mishra's act should not even require the lady to lodge a complaint. The fact that this act was committed in an aircraft means that this is a crime that is committed which can't be swept under the rug. For people who turn around and say she made a complaint, she didn't make a complaint, she went and wrote about it, she had afterthoughts. You know, it's a 70-year-old lady who's being urinated upon in a flight. I don't think, anybody would be in their right mind to even react very strongly to such a situation when you're of that age and you're going through time zones and you're exhausted. It's a long flight and somebody's done something, and then you find that the crew are also not on your side. You see that the crew is getting a man and he's sobbing his guts away. He wouldn't be sobbing if he had done nothing wrong. So the whole point of, I don't think he did it, I think he did it is moot. The fact that he goes and, she says, okay, give me the money to launder the clothes because he must have apologized so much, does not signify that she's somehow accepted money and she was blackmailing for money for laundry. Like, are we even having this discussion at all?
Absolutely, and think about it.
It really doesn't matter whether or not he got the clothes laundered and whether they were so offended that they said it.
15,000 rupees.
It shows that she felt bad for him when he cried.
Yeah.
It just shows that the lady was decent.
And that shouldn't be held against her, that out of common human decency, she said, here's a man, he is reduced to a sobbing mess. Let me just get this over with. 15,000 rupees to launder my clothes, and now she's being called a blackmailer 1.5 months later. We've got Mr. Chitranjan with us on the line. Yes, sir. What do you make of these latest developments where this lady now is being accused of being a blackmailer?
Good evening, Ms. Padmaja, and greetings to all the panelists. I'll be speaking on a different tone. Like, I want this man and his complete family banned from all the airlines, domestic as well as international. Coming to the this plight to this lady problem, I think I will be very unreasonable, but I think this man should be put under some kind of Sulabh Shauchalaya or something so that he can feel the pain, because there's no other words can explain the plight of that lady, what she suffered. Means I am sorry for my words, but this man needs more than hard punishment, which is not mentioned in the law. So the law has
30 days certainly not enough, and definitely not on only one airline. But the smallest of requests, let's keep his family out of it. They really are not at fault. They do not deserve the kind of embarrassment and now the tongue lashing that they are getting. Final call I want to take from Mr. Ramdas, then I will bring you in Mr. Rajshekhar and Ashish Dikshit. Yes, Mr. Ramdas.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening to all your panelists. I just had one observation. I read the original complaint of the lady. It was forwarded to me on WhatsApp. If I assume that it's true, she says that he urinated upon her, Mr. Mishra, and a fellow passenger tapped him on the shoulder and told him to cease and desist. I think, ma'am, this is a larger problem. We turn the other cheek. It's enough. If I was the fellow passenger, I would have caught him by the collar and I would have shoved him away. And I can understand the flight staff being busy, because if first and business are relatively free, then they go and assist in economy. I've flown business myself, so I know. But I cannot understand what is this mentality of us Indians. that we see something happening like this, an incident like this happening, and we simply tap somebody on the shoulder and say, hey, stop, buddy, go back.
You know, it's curious you mentioned that, sir, because that is actually one of the things pointed out by the lawyer, who is saying that here was the lady who was sitting in a window seat. If really something like this would have happened, why wouldn't those who are in the aisle seat or who are in the middle seat, they would have done something? So this is also being brought up, whether it is inaction or whether people weren't present there. Now, that also is one of the questions that is being asked. I'll give the final word to Mr. Pasrich. Mr. Pasrich, now a show cause notice has been issued. The crew is going to be questioned, but can the airline as a whole also be penalized, or just the crew? And if yes, what can be the penalty on the crew?
Well, the penalty on the crew is on the captain more than anyone else, because he took the decision. And he may not have taken a proportionate decision, that's about all. So they may make sure that he doesn't fly for a while. You see, there's a human error here, certainly. There's without doubt error of the crew that they should have taken stronger and more stringent action. When they leave the airport, they try to leave those things behind them, and registering an FIR is not their first priority. That's with all airlines. But in this particular case, it's called a level 2 incident. They had to register. They should have registered a complaint with the police in Delhi, and they should have handed him over to the authorities because that was their duty. Unfortunately, they were kind of lax about it. It is a human error, and I don't think that pilot is going to suffer for the rest of his life, but he will get some kind of stricture passed against him by the DGCA or by his own airline.
Okay.
As far as the passenger is concerned, I don't know about his regret or his misbehavior to that extent, but there'll be a punishment that follows in accordance with several pieces of law, and one of them is quite stringent. 354 is quite scary if that goes against him.
Well, let the law take its course, but in the interim, no one, and least of all this lady, deserves to have now their character assassinated in this fashion, and to be told that you were basically nagging or you were negotiating for money after an ordeal like that. And for what? For 15, 20, 50,000 rupees? We'll keep a close track. For the time being, thank you very much, all gentlemen, and Neetu Shukla for joining me.